So often when we worry constantly, we create a lot of anxiety within ourselves, and this is when people tend to display some thinking errors. Now, one of the most common thinking errors, which I do see quite a lot, it's called catastrophizing. This is when you jump from point 1 to point 10 in a flick of a heartbeat. And this negative thinking is very, very extreme, and it really does fuel our body and our body's reactions. And this creates negative behaviors within ourselves and also usually negative emotions in some way. Now, an example of catastrophizing would be something like, if you fail that exam, then you'll never ever pass and you'll be a total failure at life. Okay, it's a very distorted way of thinking, but it is very, very common within anxiety and depression. Now, catastrophizing, it also includes a huge amount of worry, okay? And remember, worry does lead to more worry. So this is an important technique that I use with my clients, and I want you to really ask yourself, what is the worst thing that could happen? And when this happens, if you take a step back and actually look into the problem realistically, is the worst thing that could happen really so bad? If it is, then you need to have confidence in yourself that you will cope if this thing happened. You can start to really begin to master that if the worst thing did happen, you will be fine. You will be able to deal with it. It's very, very easy for worry to build up and build up and build up. And eventually the problem looks so massive and looks so big that our brain amplifies the problem. It amplifies the worry. Now, this is where anxiety can very, very easily slip in here. So this technique is important. Ask yourself, what is the worst thing that could happen? And instead of letting the worry float around, growing bigger and bigger and getting larger and larger, bring it closer. Take a closer look at the worry. Process what you're worrying about. Observe it. And then just let it go in its merry way. Do nothing with it. Often with anxiety, what we worry about actually never ever comes to be, okay? That is what anxiety is. It's all about worry about things that haven't necessarily happened. But look at all the mental anguish that you're giving yourself over this worry, over this catastrophizing event. And then notice how often the thing that you worry about didn't happen. Now, this is often in social situations as well, social anxiety. It could be things like worrying about a party that you've been invited to, and this worry tends to grow bigger and bigger and bigger. And unfortunately, in many cases, clients will then opt for the easy option, which is not to attend the party at all, so they miss out. And I have actually worked with clients, and we've actually processed and gone through to the party event, and the worst case scenario never ever happened. Things like being left in a corner with no one to talk to, being ignored, having nothing interesting to say. All of these worries that the client has let grow has turned out to be unfounded. When we actually look at the events and look at the actual things that occurred at the party, it turns out that the worry, the catastrophizing, it never came to be. And sometimes clients actually find they enjoyed the party. So ask and use this technique. What is the worst thing that could happen? And be honest with your answer. And if the worst thing did happen, how would you cope? You may just realize that the worst thing won't happen. It's actually not that bad. So let the worry go.